Hope everybody's well. Clipping a bit. Hey. Alright, let me fix that if I can. Alright. So, how's everybody doing tonight? Good evening, and welcome to the dream. Let's see. How's everybody doing? I promise one day I will get better at this audio stuff. It's got a real bit of a goofy setup here. Ugh. Sorry, guys. Okay. How's everyone doing? I think we got 7 people so far. I think we got 7. Okay. Hey everybody. So I'm gonna just mention this real quick. I noticed a lot of people in Maya play blasting with really bad settings, so funky tunes. Yeah, let me see. Maybe YouTube. Yeah, I just wonder if I'm gonna get probably dinged with copyright stuff, right? Put it on a little low. Okay. So, yeah, with Maya settings, it's a little weird. I find like image quality, even if you switch to image, I don't know, I have a feeling that setting has an impact, so I usually leave it on AVI first and set the quality to 100% just in case. I'll go to image and then save if I want to do stills. I usually do TIFF images for almost everything. 100% scale, because for whatever reason it loves to scale to 50%. It's a really sort of terrible default. And if you go from render settings, you have to then actually go into your render settings. Oh my god. So in most cases, I think by default right now it's sort of set to half HD. So it's 960 by 540, which for assignments is not what I want. So 1080. If you want to be really cautious, then you can go to custom, right? 1920 by 1080. And that's pretty much it for Play Blast. The other actually part to this is I saw a lot of people, they forgot to do this. Go into the hardware 2.0 settings and enable anti-aliasing. You just get much better results. I usually will turn off the grid for that, right? So you get Nice smooth lines, nice clean mesh. So that's really pretty crucial, especially like any time you give anything to a client, you want to try to make it as high quality as possible. And I'm the client, so give me the good stuff. I don't want no junk, right? And if we turn on the wireframe, I didn't enable the black wireframe here, so I'm gonna go to settings, color settings, inactive, I believe it's inactive objects, poly surfaces, set it to black. There. Somebody else actually very, yeah, so somebody said, oh, I can only go up to 8 samples. Well, yeah, you probably have a crap computer, sorry. Time for an upgrade. Yeah. You might only, I think Maya kind of auto detects, it's kind of getting better at that actually, at kind of detecting the power in your machine, and that's partly because of this thing called the dependency graph, which, dang, I can't remember what that is. I think it's buried somewhere, maybe in our animation or something. Parallel processing. So actually, you might want to check that out. Like, you could maybe try playing around with the evaluation modes, but I'm not exactly sure. I think that's really just for viewport speed performance. So I don't know that that's necessarily going to have an impact on viewport 2.0. The other issue actually is, well, what kind of body beef? I guess, do you know what sort of CPU and GPU, what kind of graphics card do you have? It might make a difference. Because if you go down into display, I believe it is. Right now I'm on OpenGL. I think that's actually pretty good by default, but if you've got like a hardcore like video gamer card, so OpenGL is actually really good for the professional cards, which I'm trying to think if I've got I'm gonna take a look at this actually. I don't remember what I'm running right now. Yeah, I've got a, yeah, this is a pretty crap card actually. old GTX 570. But it's got a lot of RAM, so I should probably actually run this. I think it's probably better to run this in DirectX 11 actually. So I think in the labs, because we use professional cards are typically optimized for OpenGL, but and just close this and reopen it. Yeah, so Body Beef says computer isn't great, so it probably wouldn't go to 16. Yeah, so you might be a little stuck. I mean, I saw only, well, thankfully this time I only saw 1 or 2 people render out a, what is it? Render out a, like an Arnold or maybe RenderMan image using ambient occlusion. And, you know, Viewport 2.0 with a half-decent graphics card will run, run really, really fast, actually, so. Come on, Maya, let's go. Yeah, so anyways, I'm going to just relaunch. Usually when you change Viewport 2.0 settings, you have to go save the settings and then relaunch relaunch your Maya or whatever, so. So I'm going to do my cheesy extrude again. And I'll see, I don't know, I'm not sure if I'm going to get any more performance actually out of this, but let me go back into the actual settings here. You know, yeah, 3D is often limited by lights and whatnot as well, so. Yeah, it looks like my anti-alias, I think anti-alias is maxing out at 8 is fine. It's the ambient occlusion where you actually get more samples, up to 32, so maybe that's not the issue. It could just be that you're kind of confusing the wrong set of samples. Yeah, let's do this, a little incandescence. And I'll tweak my ambient occlusion. There you go. So a little fake ambient. And you know, it's surprisingly fast. Like I said, it's actually really a really kind of useful, for like renders and client renders and just presentation stuff. It's funny too. There's a few people, you know, I mean, I guess it was the first assignment, so I'm expecting it to be a little sloppy, but hopefully the next assignment I'll get much cleaner videos and still images, much nicer presentations in general. Yeah. So you may want to try it. I mean, you know, most graphics cards are actually capable of both OpenGL and DirectX. So I might go back to OpenGL. I think I got better results in terms of the anti-aliasing. Yeah, typically GTX cards, NVIDIA cards, AMD, Radeon cards, or I guess I forget what they're called now, Vega. You know, they're kind of like optimized for gaming and for DirectX. So video games generally run on DirectX. With professional cards, they're typically more optimized for OpenGL, typically. But both, you know, you can game with either card, you can do professional work with either sort of set of cards. Usually you're basically paying like hundreds, if not thousands of dollars more for a professional card just to get optimized drivers. And even now, I think I think at Dawson we're going to try an experiment by just buying extremely high-end gamer cards like a GTX 1080 Ti or a Titan, something like that. So just because you get way more what are called processing threads, so the threads allow you to do like GPU-based rendering really fast. Really great for game engines, obviously, for anything. Well, Photoshop will run really fast. Zbrush will probably take a little bit of advantage of it, not a ton, but... And of course your viewports, anything viewport related. Alright, let me just see. Are the settings different? It's funny, I haven't really done this comparison yet, but... Yes, anti-alias are the same, yeah, you actually get 16 more samples using OpenGL instead of DirectX. So maybe trying OpenGL give you a little bit of an edge. And this card it's old, but it's got 4 gigs of RAM, which I guess by today's standard is somewhere in the middle or lower middle range. Yeah. All right, so I guess I'm wondering, is anybody have any questions? Huh. Oh boy. Somebody just posted a video in the lab of the live stream. That's pretty funny. Yeah, nice. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if there aren't a ton of questions or like any requests for demos, I might just do a little Inktober in Zbrush. I really should get back to traditional drawing, but I tend to just do my best and weirdest work in Zbrush. Oh yeah, I still have the scars and stuff open from last week. Nasty. Oh boy. What's the theme, actually? I gotta look up I have missed the first what, 4 days? What are we, the 4th? Where am I? What's my name? October 4th, alright. Go to the official Inktober website. Underwater. Oh, I just kind of did something underwater. Maybe I'll catch up and start with Swift or something. What to do? Yes. Oh, nasty. I might just keep looking at some scar photos for a little bit. This is a real dangerous thing, kids, when you turn off safe search. Oh, no. Damn. cool. Ooh. Underwater. So we got underwater. Actually, yeah, let's do that. Underwater. Deep sea creatures. Always fun to look at. Did a little R&D. Hey, what's his stuff? Nautilus. Okay. A monster factory monster, yes. Body beef. Who's body beef? I have a good idea. What about one of these guys? Or this guy meets this guy. Yeah. Shit. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there's some really evil... I forget what it's called. There's like a sea worm. Sea worm. Super evil looking thing. Really awesome actually, but just ultra disturbing. Well, there's that guy. That's I forget what that is. Yeah, this thing. Marine worms. The bobbit worm. Oh god, the thing is pure nightmare fuel. Goblin shark, yeah. Beecher? Yeah, I thought body beef was beecher. Okay, somebody said this, yeah. That's also pretty cool. Yeah, it's funny. I should do more studies, actually. I tend to just... I don't know, it's funny. In Zbrush, as an artist, I tend to do a lot of, like, realistic life drawing sort of stuff as a traditional artist. And then in 3D, when I worked, I did a lot of commercial work. So I did a lot of lighting, a lot of architectural stuff, furniture, kind of like... I mean, in the end, it's sort of boring. There's nothing creative there, but it's fun to make stuff look sort of stylish and cool. There's the bobbit worm. I love the bobbit worm. It's really super rad and evil looking. Look at that. A royal clam, anglerfish. People are joining. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna bobbit worm. It's kind of funny because there's a when I hear the name bobbit. There was a famous case of a woman who cut off her husband's penis in the 90s, and their last name was Bobbit. Yeah, the music is pretty good for this, right? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's what the hell? Oh, keep that. I wonder. Maybe we should make a new a new term. Yeah, fun facts with Matt. We should make a new term, like going out for clams. Going out for royal clams is going to be a new terminology for something. You heard it here first, folks. I'm going out for royal clams tonight. I won't be back till Tuesday. Oh, it's insane. But okay, so there's royal clam, anglerfish. They're always cool. I kind of like the weird translucent. Yeah, it's funny. I think with a number of the I don't know if there's multiple species or just one, but I remember seeing something with the anglerfish where I think the male, in order to mate, has to fuse. He like fuses with the female and then just kind of dissolves into her. It's really disturbing. I have to look that one up actually. I like the research part. This for me doing any project, especially if it's like a study. I like the research aspect. It's really interesting. Yeah, so some anglerfish are notable due to sexual dimorphism, with a much smaller male, much larger female, seen in the suborder Ceratioidae. And there's several orders smaller than the female. Yeah, they're like super tiny. I think they latch on. It's really, really crazy. Next time, can we do a nice animal? No, that's not what I do. You do what you do. I do what I do. The inside, so somebody was like, how about we do the inside of a lamprey? Yeah. This ain't your mama's Bob Ross class. Reproduction, yeah. Unusual mating methods. They find mating problematic. Yeah, with that face. Holy shit. Okay. Lamprey mouth, somebody was asking about? Oh yeah, classic. It's funny, somebody else was doing a drink and draw a little while ago, and somebody else brought that up. Nice. Whew, those are interesting. It's funny, there's this other thing. I remember, yeah, we could do maybe one of these guys. Somebody's like, can we do a nice animal? Yeah. Body beef. That's kind of cute. It's funny, actually. This thing reminds me a lot. I just watched a movie earlier this week, or I guess no, not this week, maybe about 2 weeks ago. The re-release of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. The alien. It's probably maybe the weakest part of the movie. Weird little aliens. Ah, kind of fun. Sort of makes me think of this guy. Hey. That's somebody's. Oh boy. All right. Goblin shark, yeah. Sorry, this must be really interesting. Just watching me Google search. Oh man, it's terrible. It's so gross. What the cookie cutter fish? Cookie cutter shark. Dear God. Oi. This is like the perfect combination of cute and terrifying. It's really amazing. Hey. Damn. All right. Dear God. It's kind of like the royal clam with teeth and eyes. Ugh. Oh, what was that? Bioluminescence. Yeah. Interesting. Now body beef wants mashed potatoes. I guess I missed that reference. Probably in reference to some lumpy weird creature. Huh. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna Google. Holy yeah, these are always fun. Electron microscope images. Pretty incredible stuff. I don't want to live. Zebrafish larvae. Holy crap. No. Oh, look at you, little fella. Oh. Crabs. Yes. Van. Oxalotl. Oxalotl! It's fun to say. Oh yeah, they're pretty cute. Ah, so gross though at the same time. Alright. what to do. I'm really torn. I don't know. Alright, I'm gonna pick something soon. Strange deep sea creatures. Oh boy. Okay, let's try this out. Blanket octopus. Oh, that's pretty cool. Kind of, yeah, like a kite. Yeah, sometimes I'll go into like natural history museum, like Flickr accounts and other, yeah, just like other other sort of image sites where you can kind of, you know, Pinterest is pretty good too. Yeah, these things are kind of cool. That's kind of interesting. Jellyfish. Ooh, what the heck is this? Is that one thing or two things? I can't tell. Heteronus? I'm guessing. Heteronus? One. Heteronus. Heteronitus. Ah, that's really crazy. Doesn't fit with the deep sea theme though. It's one bug. One bug, folks. One bug. It's crazy. It's funny, I was kind of making a weird shape the other day that I didn't want to turn it into anything, but it sort of looked a bit like this tail piece. Huh. Maybe I should have kept that thing, whatever it was. It's cool. Cool sketch. Oh yeah, this thing's pretty weird. I don't know, I'm not finding anything I like yet. Nothing has grabbed my attention. Nothing exotic or weird enough yet. Two tapeworms. Two tapeworms in love. Yeah, you know, it's funny, I could do like a Cthulhu thing, but I don't know. Cthulhu stuff just doesn't interest me at all. I don't know why. Can't get into it. Tentacles. Once you've seen one. Oh, this thing. This is a fish the size of a fridge. It's called a sunfish, I think, or a starfish. No, no, starfish is sunfish. That's what it is. Yeah. Tardigrade. The butthole mouth creature. Yeah. I wonder, actually. You know what? Wait. Yeah. Tardigrade. I don't know. Bobbit worm. I'm liking it. It's got some weird teeth. Damn. That's kind of cool. What's that? Make your own hybrid of two creatures. Yeah, not a bad idea. Ooh, moonfish, moonfish. Yeah, those are big. Moonfish, and then there's the sunfish, which it's funny. I used to catch sunfish, but they're different. I would catch the odd one in lakes and stuff, but there's yeah, sea sunfish, and then yeah, the lake sunfish. There's a little comparison. I should do a mermaid that's half sunfish, but like the top half sunfish and the bottom half like some dude's legs. Kind of cool. Trying to figure out the anatomy of this head. It's a little weird. It's really strange. Can't quite figure out parts of it. Doesn't totally make sense to me yet. Yeah, mantis shrimp are cool too. Kind of cute in its own way. Oh, that's nice. Everybody's searching on Google. Yeah. My research team. Well, hopefully you guys will do something as well for yourselves. It'll be fun. Oh, I think I like you. Alright. Bobbit worm. Bobbit worm. This is good. Full extension. Angle's a little weird, but let's see if we can zoom in this. Yeah, I'm gonna put a pin in that one. Yeah, this thing's kind of cool. I like this too. Ugh. Man, kind of tired. A weird mouth. There it is. There it is. It's really freaking weird. Jesus. Alright. Oh man, what the hell is this thing? The pig butt worm. The Chaetopterus Pogaporcinus. The pig butt worm has evolved to look like, I don't know. Wow. A few meters long. What the shit? Yeah, sometimes it's actually better to, if you can get the correct terminology or the right terminology, the, what do you call it, the scientific name, right? That can be really, really great for Google Images because you'll get a lot of more like academic scans, high-res photos. You get all sorts of really crazy stuff. Yeah. Pig butt worm. That's... Yeah, it's the same. No, it's this thing. Nasty. Polychaete worm. Damn worms. Yeah, you know, I kind of like the mouth on this thing. It's just the rest of the body is kind of just like a tube that with repeating segmented elements. So it might be, I don't know, it's kind of, yeah. Oh, maybe I could freestyle a bit off of that. Let's see. I'm thinking about this thing off and on though for a while, so maybe I should just do it. I'll do it. Oh, where am I? Let's do ultra. Actually, you know what? Let me go to aha. Google. Wikipedia is the best. Best for research. So there we go. There's the technical term. Unus Aphroditois? Damn. Alright. And yeah, I think the image search results are actually a lot better in general. Yeah. Oh, little googly eyes. So cute. Alright, let's do this thing. By the way, guys, I don't know if you know this. Some of you newbies don't know this. Zbrush has a see-through mode. There's a few ways to bring in images. Let's see. What am I gonna do here? Close that guy down. The worm from Dune. Well, again, this is straying a bit from the sea theme, but you know, it's funny. When I saw the show Stranger Things, I immediately thought of this this worm, and the Demogorgon. I actually am Demogorgon. Yeah, I really hate the design of this thing. Like the way it looked in the show, I thought was just so crappy. I don't know. It's not a whole lot inspiring in general about it. Yeah, like the fan art is even like 10 times better. Maybe that's actually an original concept, I don't know. But yeah, I mean that looks way better than what was in the show. Fan art, yeah, of course. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like this weird human dude with some slightly weird hands and then just a cheesy flower face with just tons of teeth. Blah. Crap. Alright. there. So if you know me, I usually go super simple to start almost anything. So I'm going to be thinking about those. Yeah, so as I mentioned briefly, there's like a see-through mode in Zbrush. So that's one way to kind of get your images into you know, sort of see a reference. This is make the whole software see-through, but there's another way too. There's like 3 or 4 different ways actually. You can go, if you have the floor on, so the floor is kind of nice for those who want to kind of see where their mesh is oriented. My trick, and it's weird because I think I'm still stuck in this because before Zbrush had this floor option, what I would do is just hit X to go into symmetry. So I'd find, oh, where's like my center? So there's my center right across here. So then I kind of know I'll just pick like a side to face. So that's kind of roughly how I know where to face things. And I don't rotate like crazily like right off the bat, right? So I know I'm kind of oriented roughly in the right way to the object. So get comfortable here. Oh. Man, I need a whole new office setup. It's a disaster in here. Oh. Alright, so let's go see through. See, I think I'm going to work, just because this is a simple piece of mesh, yeah, I'm going to work in symmetry on X and probably the Y. So I'll go transform Y, so I can kind of work on the top and bottom points at the same time. And Zbrush keeps telling me I gotta enable sculpting by, yes, Glizette. Zbrush, like I said, this Zbrush is aliens technology from the future. It's the best software out there. Okay, so yeah, I had to make this thing a Polymesh 3D, which is right over here. I gotta go click on Make Polymesh 3D. So that's a live editable object, and for some reason, oh, there we go. Turn my transform back on. What happened to my transform? Is it back? Weird, that's a new one. So I gotta turn back on my Y symmetry as well. So I'm kind of looking at this creature. Now I'm guessing the one side seems a little flatter, so I'm gonna flatten this thing out a bit. And I'm not too concerned with like pure mechanical accuracy or anything. I just want to get a sense of the cross-section of this thing. And it looks like it tapers in a little bit here as well. So it sort of looks like it's kind of flat and then rounds at the top. So if I divide this a few times, I'll get that kind of shape, right? Dies a little. Yes, Zbrush is the damn best software out there. Oops, sorry guys. Just trying to adjust my mic here. Getting a little bit of feedback or something. Okay. I gotta buy a good mic. This mic is kind of crap. Alright, so if I divide that, I'm just hitting Control D. Just to kind of preview what it's gonna look like. Control D is kind of the shortcut for hitting, and you see there, when you hover over buttons in Zbrush, it shows you either a little like shortcut for it. So to go down in res is Shift D, to go up in res is D. I like this method of smoothing in Zbrush. No, Shift D does not divide. It's a little confusing, because in this version of Zbrush, they screwed up the shortcuts a bit. So to divide is Control D, right? So that adds a division, Control D, Control D. Shift D goes down in resolution if you're just using the shortcut, and D goes up. So if you've got a tablet, I usually map the buttons or the dial or in my case I've got an older, like 2 or 3 actually older tablets which have sliders on them. So I have 2 sliders, one on the left side. so when I swipe up, it goes up in resolution, which is like hitting D a bunch of times, and when I swipe down, it's like going down in resolution, which is like hitting Shift D. But there's a weird thing that they added to this version. It's called dynamic subdivision. So if you have no actual regular divisions, which I'm used to, I call them regular because that's what I've been using in ZBrush for the last like 5 years, I guess, on a more near full-time basis. Yeah, used to just only have divide. Now you've got this thing called dynamic subdivision. So if you have no actual like divisions that you've added through this upper section and you hit D, it automatically turns on this mode, which gives you these goofy little pins. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about dynamic subdivision. I'm not sure yet. So that's if you hit D, and to turn it, that's if there's no subdivisions, by the way. So let me again delete any subdivisions. I'll pull that in. So if you have no subdivisions and you hit D, this is good for like, so this is like a Maya style smooth preview, right? Yeah, so let me just turn up the see-through thing for a minute. So that see-through slider is like right near the top. Top kind of middle right of ZBrush. It's called see-through. Yeah, so if you go, let's say you're editing this, so I'll hit Shift D to turn this off. If I hit B for brush, Z for Zmodeler, and there's a thing called Zmodeler Brush. By the way, if you notice, there's little letters there. So for each kind of subcategory, so if I want B for brush and then hit, so B for brush, B again, I guess there's only one brush, which is blob. So I'll go B for brush, C for whatever, curves and clips. You see each of these has a letter associated with them. So if you find you're going to a certain brush a lot, you hit B for the brush menu, C for the subcategory or the alphabetical subcategory, and then whatever that shortcut is. So if you like crease curve, so that would be B, C, and then E at the end. So it's kind of like a quick, and actually this is an alternate select brush is what they call it. So when I hit Control Shift, it's going to activate that brush. So I'll just say okay. In this case, it's kind of useless on this model. So let me see. Control Shift, click on it. That's really interesting. I've never used that brush before, actually. What the heck is this? This is interesting. Oh, it doesn't like subdivisions, of course. Yeah, so we'll take out subdivisions. What the hell did it do? Oh, it cut a crease line actually into the mesh. That's kind of interesting. I'm sure there's an application for that somewhere. Maybe if we're doing like clothing or something to like split and make seams and stuff. That would probably make sense. Okay. Okay, so use Use interactive insert loop for the same segments, and it will create polygroups as well. You can create your own tab that you can customize, or your most, yeah. So there's, oh shit, that's awesome. ZBrush just crashed with a super simple cylinder. I don't quite get that. Vegetable. Use the interactive insert loop for the segment. So, okay, I think what you're talking about is in the Zmodeler. Is that the project? No. And I think my install the ZBrush needs to be totally wiped out, but maybe I'll just go to Preferences, Initialize. Yes, let's initialize to reset the hell out of everything. Save a startup doc. It's a good way, if you get weird bugs and stuff, just nuke ZBrush, initialize, just make sure you save anything that might be relevant. Yeah, when you hover over the edge, yeah, with Z, yes, I was gonna get to that. So, vegetable. I'll show you guys this in a second. So there's like a quick insert loop function, which is the default behavior of the Zmodeler brush. So Zmodeler is kind of like the power of Maya inside of ZBrush, basically. Okay, so we'll make polymesh, transform, activate symmetry because I want X and Y. Oops, I should do that actually on the move brush. There we go. That's nice. So yeah, So I'll hit Control D. This is my preferred smoothing method in general. Yeah, so if you're working on like mesh like this that's more controlled, it's not just a freeform sculpt, you can actually treat ZBrush like Maya by hitting B for brush, Z for Zmodeler, and then M if you want to do the shortcut key. And then you click on that brush, and by default, so here's what's really cool about it, is if you hover over polygons, it actually has a quick, by default it's there to kind of do inserts or to do like extrusions. If you hover over edges, it does like a, it's not quite doing it here, there, it's doing like an insert loop. You see like a swift loop, insert loop. So if you insert loops, right, it's kind of like the multi-cut tool when you hold Control in Maya. And then if I divide it right, it'll just look a lot more kind of crisp as well. So that's kind of interesting. Anyways, I'm going to undo that a little bit. I might do the interior loop. But if you hit the space bar, so this is kind of like opening up a whole new toolkit in ZBrush. Hold space bar. So if you're hovering over a face and you see QMesh a poly, if I space bar over that, I can inflate, I can bevel, I can bridge, I can crease, I can delete, I can move, I can inset, I can extrude, right? So there's a lot of really interesting and amazing options in there. And then you can do it on a single poly. You can do it on all polygons or all quads, all tris. There's poly loops. So if I want to, let's say I'm hovering over this, extrude a poly loop, extrude a poly loop. Spacebar while I'm hovering over a polygon face, and I can go inset. This case, yeah, I should have checked to let me undo that. Spacebar. See, right now it's doing inset each poly. I want to inset a whole region, and I want a poly loop. So you kind of have the action, the selected or intended target, and then a modification for that selected target. Right, so then I can inset, and then I'll do another, I'll switch back to extrude. Again, it's kind of, I don't know why it went back to that, but it should be poly loop, which is I think what I had on before. There, so I can do that. Yeah, right. So vegetable saying if you hover over the edge, it does quick insert loops, which is exactly what I just showed. Yeah. So if you're hovering over an edge, again, I find it a little weird, and usually I'll take the draw size down on my brush down to like nothing, so you get a little more accurate kind of snapping. You see, I'm just left clicking and dragging, or if I had a tablet, it'd be penned down on the tablet. So yeah, somebody asked, it's really cool, right? Yeah, it's super awesome. So not only that, like you still have the power to just switch to a move brush and move stuff, right? And move in symmetry. In this case, it doesn't quite make a whole lot of sense, but maybe. And the other thing is, so you see this color coding. So I hit Shift F, right? Shift F is what's called the draw polyframe, which is this button right here. And polygroups are ways in which you can organize a single piece of mesh or a single subtool, which is what I'm working on now. It's a single subtool. So you can organize this by polygroups, and so you can actually kind of click on an area and hit Control W. That creates a new polygroup. Or if I hide a piece, so I'll just, let's say, hide everything but the bottom. Oops. Oh, I'm in symmetry, so it's gonna be a little weird actually. Yeah. Let's say I just hide this and hit Control W. You see it now creates a new grouping. There's also some so that is really useful because some of these functions in that brush, BZM for Zmodeler. So if I hover over that new polygroup, see I can actually affect just a polygroup, right? Polygroup inner, polygroup border, polygroup all. So I can extrude or move or do whatever just to that region. So let's say I do an inset to the polygroup island, I guess. So you see it's actually pulling that whole island in now, right? So it's kind of like a quick extrusion where I get two equal loops on either side. Vegetable. Vaggie. I'll just call you Vaggie for short. How's that? How do you like your name now, Vaggie? It's a compliment. It's a compliment. Okay, so let me take this down. There. I'm just doing some undos because I don't really want that stuff. But anyways, that's kind of Zmodeler in a nutshell, right? So if you guys know how to vegetable, yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Yeah, I mean it's Yeah, let's get that shape there. It's really kind of interesting, you know, to have that option available in ZBrush. And right now, yeah, so if you hover over vertex too, there's a few, you know, you can delete vertices. I think there's some restrictions, so it doesn't allow non-quad. So if I tried to delete, like this one, it won't really let it happen. Because it just doesn't know what you would leave behind. It would leave a non-triangle, non-quad. And I forget where. There's sort of an option, I think, somewhere for this where you can kind of allow it to allow, like, because, you know, sometimes you're editing mesh and you want to just, like, you need to move things around. So you need something that either is a triangle is more than 4 sides just temporarily while you're cutting and welding. I haven't gotten too deep into Zmodeler still. It's something I still need to come back to and kind of really dig into, but... Okay, anyways, that's a little detour, I guess. So yeah, somebody else asked me too. Man, what time is it? It's like 9 o'clock already. I haven't done anything yet. So yeah, somebody else asked me, like, how do you customize? Like, for me, I have my most commonly used buttons down here, my most commonly used brushes. So I'll show you guys how that works. You can put them on the side. You can do this. So there's like a little extra dock space here if you wanted to do something like that. I think you can, so for me, it's this little bar at the bottom was, I think, there by default. So let me just go to Preferences, Config. This is my custom configuration. So I'm going to just store this configuration. I'm going to go Restore Standard UI, so you can see the default UI. So there's kind of like a little, yeah, I don't know if there is a little bar actually down there, but... Where's the insert nipple brush? Well, we can make one of those. If you want to make an insert nipple, we can insert a nipple. So, yeah, the key is, so let's say there's the brush palette, right? So this is where all the brushes kind of live, and it's a little bit of a weird process, like many things in ZBrush, but you see there's like a little kind of circle icon with a little arrow pointing kind of up and to the right. If you hit that, it kind of docks it over to the right side of the software. So what sorry guys, messing with my volumes here. It just feels like it's getting a little loud, but for my mic. Yeah, so basically once that's docked on the right side, you then have to go to Preferences, Config, Enable Customization. As soon as that happens, you kind of get a couple of extra spaces to load. So you can load a bunch of extra stuff across the top of ZBrush, or across this little bar down here. So what happens is, you know, you want to activate brushes. So let's say I want to go, like, there's a crumple brush. I've never used that before. So if I want to use the crumple brush, well, now it's loaded in the palette. It's loaded in the palette. So what I can do is Control, Alt, left click and drag and drop it into this little dock area if I want. Or I could do the same thing up here, into the upper bar here, or anywhere in this bar as well. This is editable. I can also drop it down here. Now, one thing I noticed with these buttons is that they're really wide. So I think what I had to do for my interface is go to Preferences. I think it was under Interface. I gotta remember, it's been so long. Yeah, so Interface, and then in UI, I turned off wide buttons. Oh man, it's like pouring rain outside. So I turned off wide buttons so I can really fit more in without there being overlap. One issue I did have though is like some of these slider things, if you notice on the left side, they're really, really wide. I don't know how to make them narrower. It's something I've been dying to do, or even like the sliders. You know, I kind of want to fit a few more things into my interface, and I don't know how to edit that yet, and I don't know that it's even allowable yet. So like anything from the interface when it's docked to the right side, so like my tool palette, let's say like geometry, I could Alt, Control, left click and drag, and drop a divide button up there. If I don't like this crumple brush thing up here, I left click and drag, Control, Alt, left click and drag into the interface and drop it into Oblivion. Okay, so that's a way I've done, like, I take my most commonly used tools and I've got my interface set up this way. So even materials, right? Like, let's say I go to material, there's a lot of materials that I like to load. Actually, there's a new one that I've, like, two new ones I use, or maybe not new, but new for me. I've been using Outline for, like, silhouette work. So getting silhouettes down nice and easy for like concepting stuff. And then there's the outline, which is a little bit more. So let me just show you the difference, right? You get a little bit more kind of shading from the outer side. So there's like thin outline and then the thicker outline. So if I like those, Alt Control, left click and drag, drop it in, right? Drop it in. So you can any sort of tool you can figure. And here's the other thing: if you don't like certain buttons, like I never use expose, maybe I should, but I would toss that out. You know, I should probably optimize these as well, because there's a ton of buttons I have the shortcuts for or I never use. So yeah, I think like the frame, I don't use that. So fit mesh to frame, I hit F, which is the shortcut. It's just like Maya, frame selection, right? And then you can rearrange these, you can move them, you know, kind of stick them where you like. Again, be very careful not to overlap them. I think something went wrong too with the configuration that I set up in the lab, so the interface got all goofy and there's a bunch of overlapping buttons. But I'll go back. It's funny because I don't, yeah, let's say we like this. I don't really like this, but you can go turn off enable customization. Now you've got those buttons sitting where they should be sitting. And you can say save UI, which saves the file somewhere, so it saves it to a config file, and you can give it a new name. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to overwrite my custom one. And then you go store config, so that will store it into your ZBrush. Now, actually, I gotta go hunting for a second. Give me a minute, guys. I'm gonna I just did a tweak of an interface that I really like. It's kind of been revamped a bit, so I'm gonna I sent it to a friend of mine too. So I'm gonna go to the chat window and find it. Let's see. Gotta go digging through Messenger here. So give me a moment. But yeah, anyways, I'll just show you quickly here. So you can restore the standard UI, which is nice. You can always get back to the default. In this case, I'd stored a custom UI, right? So I went to store, I saved out the UI, then I did a store config, and then I can go restore custom UI. So this is the UI that I like. I've rearranged stuff a little bit. So yeah, I'm just gonna go hunt because I gotta make sure I put this thing in all the right spots here, like my online storage, and I think I may have uploaded it too to Moodle and stuff, but I gotta double check all that. Yeah, I've been tweaking and trying to optimize my sort of layout. So for me, it's just pretty much my top tools are exactly in the interface. If they don't have a shortcut, they're in the interface somewhere, so I know what to. Yeah. Oh, jeez. Yeah, I think the config I have is actually for the newest version of ZBrush, so I don't think it's going to work actually here, unfortunately. Anyways, I'll keep this as is for now. Actually, you know what? If I want to, since I want to update this, I'll go config, enable customization, go to material, because I do want to add the outline materials. I find them incredibly useful. And I may rearrange this to the active points and total points. I'm just going to Control-Alt. Come on. Why won't you go? Oh, I'm hitting Shift-Alt. Control-Alt, left-click and drag. Yeah, oh man, it's so annoying. I want to find a better spot for this, or a better way to display it, because it just takes up so much room for no reason. I don't know. I'll just let it be cut off by the interface, I guess. Yeah, so I'm going to bring in those two outline materials. They're super useful. It's probably the one main tweak I really want that new interface for anyway, so I'm going to just make sure that every button has its own correct little space here, so there's no overlap. There we go. That's good. Nice. So then I'll turn... So again, if you want to undock those things, like the only one I leave docked, which is the default, is this tool palette. So I'm going to undock this by clicking on the... Now you got a circle with an arrow pointing out of it to the left, so that kind of undocks it back to the menu, basically. So I'll go back to Preferences, turn off Enable Customization, Save UI. Yeah, this is actually my old config from 4R5, but whatever. Save it out as a backup just in case, and then I'm going to say Store Config. So now this becomes kind of like the default configuration that ZBrush will load every time you load ZBrush. Alright, cool. Alright, so, yeah, this thing. What am I on here? Let's go to the Move Brush. And I'll go back to Zmodeler. and do just a couple of, oops, let's delete any higher subdivisions. I just want to kind of make sure this thing smooths correctly, so I'm going to give it a thickness of some kind. So if I divide, it'll kind of keep its shape a little better at the edges. And I also will probably wind up deleting or changing the topology in here because of all the triangles. I wonder if I go delete, if that'll work. Delete. Hopefully that'll allow me to... Yeah, there we go. Quad based. Nice. Clean. So if I divide, it'll actually smooth a lot better. It's one of the things, you know, you don't see it as much in Maya. Maya handles triangle based smoothing really well. 3D Max does not. Zbrush does not. I can't really speak to any other softwares because those are kind of the main 3D softwares I've used over my career for modeling. So, yeah. Okay, let's get to see-through mode here. Yeah, the move tool. Move tool as well has actually been totally revamped in the newest version of ZBrush. So I kind of want to get the right kind of thickness here. I might add a little embellishment, so maybe I'll take move brush and just mask this and then move it off. Oh yeah, it's still in symmetry, so I gotta turn up symmetry. Just give it a little sort of slope there. Okay. Looks like there's, I'm assuming that's kind of the underside, there's kind of like an indentation there. So, let's see what I'm going to do. Now I kind of want to just go right to sculpting actually. You know, I can always re-topologize, which is really great. Move. Damn it. It's weird. Okay, so I'm going to just divide this once, delete the lower subdivision. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to just divide this up a little bit more and sculpt straight on it. And I'm going to move this image over to my other screen. You know, the, I don't know, I have this thing actually about reference images. I think, it's one thing if you have a character or something that needs to be exact and follow a design. It's a different thing if you want to build something, maybe with a bit more creativity, right? So I think it's good to use your brain to look at one screen, observe, and then try to sort of see how you can figure out those shapes separately in 3D without just kind of slapping things on top. Not that there's necessarily anything wrong with that method, but it's my personal preference. I like to try to exercise the brain, kind of the analysis aspect, I guess, of what it is I'm doing, you know? So I'm just going to load that image onto another screen. And then just turn off see-through here. Okay, so back to symmetry. I'm going to turn off this stupid Y symmetry, so I just stick to X. And I'm keeping it pretty low poly for a reason. So right now I'm only at 500 points, because, you know, if this thing were super long, had a lot of, you know, a lot of divisions and stuff, then I wouldn't want it to be super heavy right off the bat. But then again, you know, I'm looking at sort of full-length photos of this thing, and it's not super complicated. Like, it's definitely, it doesn't have like 1,000 segments to it. Maybe, I don't know, 40 or 50. So that's a multiplier you have to kind of remember and take into consideration. So I'm trying to get kind of the feel of each of these things down a bit. Make it feel a little rougher and organic too, so I don't want any kind of super clean shapes necessarily. But I do want it to kind of flow with the actual creature. Oh yeah, insert nipple? I forgot all about the insert nipple. Free the insert nipple brush, right? Yeah, well you just have to draw one, pretty much. I guess that's as simple as I can kind of lay it out. So to do that, if you're interested, you can either model it or capture it as an alpha. If you capture it as an alpha, we'll go to plane, divide the crap out of this. Actually, I'm going to make this a polymesh and then divide a whole bunch. And I'll go to, let's say, the standard brush. Standard drag. It's going to be really interesting. Oops. That's a little bit rough there. Let's take that down intensity-wise. A little texture. That's the shit, yeah. Jesus, man. Alright, so take a little... Take up the intensity. Oh yeah. It's kind of the... Gotta find the right alpha. Let's see. It's very perfectly round nipple. And then you'll go to color spray with a smaller. Yeah, okay. Twist it, yeah. Alright, so you can now zoom in close enough to this thing. It's definitely the stupidest request I've ever taken. Alright, alpha. Let's go to alpha. Grab dock. Grab that nipple. Check it out. Nip. So now... Oh yeah, I'm not going to get into that much detail. So now, if I drag this out, I've got a new alpha. Let's take up the intensity. Need more divisions here. There you go. There's no nipple hole. Get over it. Yeah. So there you go. That's kind of the quick nips. Quick tip nip. And if you want, you can go to stroke mode. So bad. Will that work? No, I think I have to set this to like freehand or something. Oh yeah, I haven't done this mode actually yet. No, I need the actual like mesh for that, but yeah. Stroke mode for the nipple insert brush. But yeah, no, this I drag it. If it was an actual mesh, then like where is that? So let's mask this. I'm going to do mask circle. I don't use this one either as much as I should, but... So we'll invert that. Oops. Oh, wow. Let's flip that around. Hit Control W. So that gives that a different poly group. We can go to mesh. Sorry, topology. Let's delete the lower. Go to mesh, modify topology, delete hidden. And then this thing is pretty high res, so I'm going to have to bring this way down. Zero mesh. This will not be available on Moodle. I apologize in advance. Oh, man. Well, nipples. It's a part of life, folks. This is definitely the weirdest. Oh, there we go. So it's kind of a rough version of it, but so now if I rotate this and hit Shift, snap to a top view, go to Brush, create Insert, new Insert, go to this thing, or maybe I'll just go to a generic sphere here, make Polymesh. Now you can drag all the nipples out that you want. Now it doesn't have any real shape, it's just a flat disc, but I could have worked on that a little better. And this is where I would go to stroke mode. Oh, it's just so ridiculous. It's a little too into the sphere, so let's go depth and raise the depth so it hovers off the surface a little bit better. There you go. Ta-da! It's a different kind of nipple ring you can make there, I guess, right? Sort of like, oops. Yeah, if you drag off with shift and, sorry, if you drag off with curve mode and then hit shift, it'll kind of like quickly, it'll try to go around the mesh. So there's a nipple ring, if you will. The nipple ring of Saturn. Alright. Back to this thing. So weird, you guys. So weird. I did say I'd take all requests, and I'm kind of maybe starting to regret that now. I'm not sure yet. Alright, let's take a look at this thing. I feel like there's kind of like a weird kind of little shape to this. Like it kind of arcs back a little bit, each little plate. And I'm probably going to wind up having to delete the interior and make a sort of a simplified lower res version of this, again, because I'm going to be making duplicates. And I may dynamesh it together, I may just leave them as mesh and divide them again and then add like little texture bits, because there's kind of like little dimples and stuff in there. So, dimpling, stippling, or whatever you want to say on the surface. Alright, sorry. The recording will not, the nipple brush will not be available anywhere. And the video recording will be on Twitch and YouTube. So, like, subscribe, whatever. No, I don't really care about that shit. So I just want to kind of, give this thing a bit of a ridge. By the way, this function that's on is Lazy Mouse. So I'm just going to turn something off here if I can. Yeah, so when you're using the mouse stroke, so again, this is in the stroke menu if you want to find it, Lazy Mouse. But these are my most kind of commonly used functions out of Lazy Mouse, is the Lazy Mouse button to activate it off or on. Now, what happens, like sometimes when you draw out really, really quickly, unfortunately, I'm just kind of drawing with the mouse, so it's kind of crap. I can't get as fast as I would with the tablet, I guess, but... Yeah, sometimes you'll see the stroke break up, maybe with clay tubes, that's a good example actually, yeah. So you see it like breaks up the stroke, so you're seeing the alpha kind of. So the slower you move, the more solid, but the faster you get, the more it breaks up, right? So if you enable Lazy Mouse, Lazy Mouse, its original intention is actually to average out your strokes. So there's Lazy Radius, and then Lazy Smooth. And you see it creates a little red line, so it actually is like averaging out the stroke to give you a fluid, circular, or curved, more kind of evenly curved lines without sort of any wobble or jiggle or whatever that might happen from your hand or from various settings. And you can crank those, I mean, depending on how smooth you want it, but then you get a really big lagging line behind the stroke, so it can be a little bit difficult to control in that way. But what I use it for a lot of the time, I turn lazy smooth and lazy radius down. It's to solve this issue of the chunky stroke. It's to take the lazy step down to like 0.1, 0.05 or something, and you see you get just solid stroke, a solid line or a solid alpha from the stroke. So I often will enable that on most of my brushes. Damn standard. In this case, I might actually crank the radius, lazy radius and lazy smooth, because I do want to follow the edge of this thing a little more carefully. The profile, I should say. So I'll turn that back up. And it's getting a little weird around the edge here too. Intensity is really high on that as well. Take that down. And it's really not what I'm seeing in the creature itself, so I'm going to just do a little lighter touch here. Alright, so you see I kind of get that almost nice little ridge just to kind of help me figure out its potential kind of border. Man, that would be nice in symmetry. Both X and Y in this case, but whatever. It's always good to vary things up too, actually. And I realize I've been really lazy in a lot of ways when it comes to some of my stuff, to like just rely on symmetry, and that's not really a good thing. You know, you want to, you know, mix it up a bit too. It's, you know, if you're in production, you got to be fast and efficient, but if it's more like skills building, then you want to think about, well, what skills are you building? Are you working in asymmetry? Are you building up any kind of like ability to catch interesting shapes and have subtle asymmetry to extreme asymmetry, or maybe required or needed, you know? Yeah, it's just like the development side of things, not necessarily the practical production aspect of it. So I'm just going up and down the resolution here, playing around a little bit. Subtle shape stuff. Now, the only reason I'm putting a lot of attention to this is that this is going to carry through to so many segments of the body. So I want to try to get this sort of right. You know, there's a little bit of a ridge here actually, so I'm gonna really, exaggerate that as well. Try H polish to flatten a little bit here. Take the intensity down. Bit. So I think I'm going to try to hide the middle polys if I can, and delete them. To do this, I'm going to have to freeze the subdivisions. Oh yeah, so I'll freeze subdivisions first, which kind of hides all the higher subdivision stuff, and then. So it's almost like I'm working on a snapshot copy of the lowest subdivision version of this model, so I can do anything to it that Zbrush would otherwise not allow me to do with divisions enabled. So it's a really kind of powerful way to work, but you have to remember, if you ever are asked to freeze subdivisions, pay attention to what you're doing. If you do the one function and then you're finished, unfreeze it. Otherwise you're going to be stuck with a weird mix, because when it comes back, it brings the mesh back in the state at the time you froze it. And I've seen people do thousands of actions after that, and then they're like, oh, it's frozen still. and you gotta unfreeze. It's, I don't know, it's such a beginner thing to do, but that's okay. So I'm gonna delete the hidden areas. I'm gonna unfreeze, and it's gonna bring everything back. So it almost comes back, it unmasks or masks. It's kind of weird, and then it does a projection. So in this case, it turned out pretty clean. Actually, that's almost exactly the sort of shell that I want, I think. It's pretty damn close. So let's see. So yeah, I'm gonna be dynameshing, or sorry, not dynameshing, dragging this out as a stroke brush. So I'll go to, so I need to make this a little bit lighter. I do have a low res, but I think the lowest resolution just doesn't show enough. And at higher resolutions, it's not accurate enough to follow the curvature, so I'm going to go to the highest resolution. Let's make this a little bit easier for people to see. Yeah. So I'll take this, I'm going to delete the low subdivision. Looks like my toilet seat add-on cushion. Yeah. Cool. Alright, so I'm going to go Geometry, Zero Mesh. I'm going to really try to get it down to like maybe 5,000. It doesn't have to be that low, but I'll turn off Adapt. So what Adapt does, and if you just hit Control, right? Control and hovering over anything in Zbrush tells you exactly what it does, and it's amazing. Really informative. So it sort of will tell you, you know, the Adapt button will give you basically like the size or the poly count will get higher if Zbrush. So let's say you try to take something really, really complicated with a lot of detail and you're trying to zero mesh it or give it new topology that's very, very low, and it's having a hard time. If you turn on Adapt, it'll focus more topology. So it'll blow this target, probably blow this target polygon count thing out of the water, but it's great in a way because it saves part of the silhouette to try to keep the topology in areas where it's really, really needed. So if 5,000 isn't enough to bring your shape down, then it'll try, you know, maybe 7,000, 8,000, which is what I usually get when I try to topologize like a character, for example, from like 40,000 or hundreds of thousands or millions of polys down for a low res, down to like 5. It won't let me with Adapt on. It'll go to like I said, 7, 8, maybe 9 or 10 even. But in this case, this is simple enough that I don't need to worry about adaptive poly count basically. And it should adhere pretty closely. It's not accurate, but it's kind of close in a way. It's not terrible. Still 10,000, but so I'll try to just, you can zero mesh as well. So I'm gonna go half zero mesh. So again, it's not terrible. One thing I might do here is go BZM, and I'm gonna go to, if I can stitch. Let's try that. Yeah, maybe I'll just leave it alone for now. Alright, so I'm going to be dragging this across a surface, I guess. So I probably want to see this thing from this top view down. So I'm going to snap to this top view. Go to Brush, go to Create Insert Mesh, New Mesh. Grab a plane. And you know, I don't know, I might actually play with this plane a little bit. So I'm going to just enable Sculpting, make Polymesh 3D. Flip this thing over, because this is probably the top side. If I got a floor, not quite, but that's okay. So I'll just go in, oops, and I'm going to use the Move tool and just kind of warp, I guess, the plane a little bit. So I just want to kind of, and this is a good idea too, sometimes when you have insert brushes or curve brushes that need to follow a shape, and you're not just, because you can curve off, I'll show you that in a second. Let's go back to this brush. Yeah, so, you know, I can just drag these pieces in, right? But if I go to curve mode, stroke, curve mode, You see, it's gonna follow that kind of surface actually, real nicely. So sometimes, you know, you can draw off the curve, which is kind of interesting too, but you know, it's not always the most accurate thing, and it's hard to control. So sometimes you need like just a temporary plane in there. There, it's kind of cool. So maybe I'll go stroke, curve step, turn the curve step down a little bit. It's too many steps. We'll go stroke. That's a little better. Nice, nice. So you guys seeing that, I hope? So, you know, I'm thinking a little simply and using the stroke tool to kind of get the sort of shape I'm after, you know? And I may adjust this too, the stroke, maybe just bump up the step, so that's the spacing essentially. And if I click on this, it should update the spacing a little bit. You know, sometimes you have to redo the stroke, but... To remove a stroke, by the way, Alt, click and drag across. Oh, jeez. Did I drop it? Yeah, you should be able to Alt, click and drag across to draw a cut, or cut a stroke out. And we can add size to this too, a size modifier, so... Size functions, size. There. And we can play with that curve as well. Stroke. So really get a fall off at the end. It's pretty gross. Nice. Cool, cool. And I think, I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with this. I mean, there does seem to be a little bit of a gap there, so I'm going to go to stroke, curve, and tweak the step down, back down a little bit. That's right, nice and ribbed, nice and ribbed. By the way, too, with the curve mode, if you hover next to an endpoint, you see it'll kind of go green, and it'll sort of almost like look like it's connecting. You can draw an extension to that line, by the way. Yeah, took a while to get here, but you blink and you miss it, right? Okay, I'm gonna yeah, Zbrush is alien technology. So fast, so efficient. And if you know, this is one thing I love about Maya as well as Zbrush. So I don't know, you guys tell me, by the way, if the audio is weird. It sounds like in my headphones, like if I get too close, it sounds like I'm blasting the volume. And in other ways, it's cross sections, yeah. So I think in cross sections, silhouette, I mean, I probably hammered this home a few times over the few weeks in class. Whether it's Maya, you know, I think about a silhouette, and then if it's a symmetrical silhouette, I break it down into halves or quarters, like pie slices, you know, depending on what the object is. So in this case, this was very much a repetitive, sectioned sort of mesh, right? And now you get this really cool... So here, let me bring this guy back over. Hi, everybody. So, you know, I get that effect, right? That's the effect I'm after. Yeah. Alright, I'm going to grab a glass of water, take a small break, and come back. See you guys soon. Alright, I'm back. So, yeah, kind of the key to that, right, was first going to, making that cross section, and then I knew this was going to be the bottom, and I was going to draw it out. So if you know that this is the thing that you want to plant onto something, and like I said, I have to create a stroke of it, I have to kind of draw it onto some surface. So if I want it to be in line, so if I want it to duplicate out like in this sort of fashion where it's, you know, going down, 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 right? I have to look at it from a top view. So this is the bottom in my mind, and this is the top. So you go to Brush, Create Insert Mesh, which I did already, so it's here. So you go Create Insert Mesh and you say Create New. It'll ask you, do you want a new one? Do you want to add it to an existing brush? Or append is the terminology in ZBrush. In this case, I wanted a new one. So then I went to my plane, right? I drew out a plane and roughed it up and made it editable. And then I simply, so this stroke by default had, this brush by default was just like an insert, so you drop like little shell pieces of it, right? So I knew it was orienting right. I usually do a test to make sure that orients the way I want it to. And then the other step was very simple. Stroke, curve mode under curve. So stroke, curve, curve mode. And then when you draw it out, it gives you, well, it doesn't give you the shape adjustment. That's under modifiers. So if that's off, then you just get a solid, right? A solid kind of piece. Sometimes, by the way, too, I notice when you don't get the spacing you like, you know, like up here, it's a little rough. It's kind of splitting a little too much. You know, I can just kind of nudge the endpoints around a little bit, maybe to get a little better spacing, kind of pull them back and forth just a bit to see if I get a little bit better distribution there. So yeah, that's kind of that, and then stroke, size, and then I went into the curve option. So by default, when you look at the size, the fall off curve, it's this little collapse menu. You click on it, and then you've got a curve adjustment. So right now it's default is this, right? If we go stroke, and you can play with the size. So I just kind of really made it thick at the end, and then very sharply tapers off to very thin, which is, I think, kind of comparable to the actual creature. I'm kind of wondering too, you know, some of the visible gaps, I don't know, how bad are they? Actually, they still look like they're in contact, so I think this will be okay. You know, I may dynamesh this together. I may just leave it as mesh, like regular mesh like this, and just simply divide it. That may work. And by the way, there's still a stroke. Is there a stroke line still? Yeah, so just so you guys know how strokes work, or the curve mode brushes work, when you draw a curve, it's still kind of an active curve, but to set it onto the model, you have to click off somewhere, and it'll set that mesh. Okay? So I think I must have already done that in this case. And right now, technically, this plane is masked, and this mesh here is still kind of live and active, or unmasked, I guess. So I'm gonna go split unmasked points. So now the plane's just kind of sitting there. I'm probably gonna delete it because I don't need it anymore. I'm done with you, plane. Oh, I deleted the wrong thing. All right, let's split. You know, the other thing is if you accidentally unmask or unmask everything and you're like, oh, how do I split this? Well, you can go split to similar parts. Okay, so we'll go split to similar parts, and then it should sort of recognize, let's just solo this, yeah. So I can now just delete the plane. Delete whatever this weird little node is. Oh man, is that part too far away? Yeah, a little worried. I feel like there's a gap or something in the middle of these somewhere, but maybe not. Maybe I'm okay. You know what I might have to do if I really need to cheat to put in some kind of, I could put in a little like just like sphere and stretch it in underneath to make sure there's no real gaps there, but I might have to do something with the end as well. Alright, so let's take a look at this. So these are each unique parts, so I'm going to just go into maybe polygroups, auto group. So each one's going to be uniquely color coded. So I'm going to isolate this one and split it. Split hidden. There we go. get out of solo mode. So that's going to be kind of like the headstock of this little beast. Oh, it's off on a weird angle too, which is never fun, but alright, I'll try my best here. And the good news is this is a separate subtool, so I can dynamesh one individual part or do whatever with different parts. You know, each mesh can kind of have its own levels of subdivisions for detail. Each mesh can have its own kind of setup. Each subtool, sorry. Actually, yeah, it's almost 10 o'clock already. This is I didn't get very far, unfortunately, tonight. But that's okay. I like answering your questions. Taking requests like the nipple brush. This is the bobbit worm underscore. By the way, you know, I hammer home numbering and plain naming, so it's, I practice what I preach, folks. Okay, let's get this on axis if we can. Alright, I might, yeah, because this whole thing is, yeah, maybe I'll just start working on this thing almost like a solo project. Or you know what, shit, maybe I'll go back actually to this guy. Yeah, because this one's on a clean axis, maybe I'll just build the head as its own tool. Yeah, let's see. I think I will dynamesh this because there's a lot of unique random stuff here. So dynamesh, which closes things up. Brush, insert. I don't know what I have for inserts here that might work. A ring. Macaroni time. Yeah. Alright, let's see what we got. Take the move brush because there's a weird kind of flatness to this. Whoa. I'm gonna split this off actually. So let's hide this guy. Oops, let's try that again. Split hidden. There we go. I don't even know how to say your name. Flive? You missed it? Well, I showed a bunch. Well, yeah, I made a nipple brush because somebody asked for a nipple brush, so you missed that. That was kind of funny. Yeah. I'm making this guy. Trying to. Although I'm probably going to call it quits soon. I'm getting kind of tired actually, so all that grading. Got to do a ton more. I've still got like 600 files from all the props. Why did I do this to myself? And to you. More importantly, the good people of Dawson. Yeah. Every year I want to do the Inktober thing and do it in Zbrush, and I always totally blow it. It's terrible. Well, maybe. I don't know. I've got a few days off actually. Once I get the grading done, I got a bit of time, so maybe I'll smash out a bunch of stuff. This is my Inktober underwater thing. Let's see. What are those weird fin things? Oh, it's like this stuff. It's really gross. Should probably be separate, but that's okay. Let's see. Let's try to sketch it out. Okay. By the way, the replay will be on YouTube and whatever shortly, so don't worry if you missed it. I'm probably gonna call it a night really shortly actually, so don't worry about that. It'll be going up very soon. Okay, so let's see what we can do here. Yeah, I want to bang out something real quick. Yeah, I apologize. I spent like half an hour just Googling stuff. It's not going to make for an interesting stream, sadly. Okay, let's see what this weird thing is made out of. Oh, it's so gross. Oh, okay. I think I kind of get it now. It's a little... Man, I really screwed up the scale on this thing. Yeah, hell with it. Maybe I'll go with an exaggerated version for now. Turntable. Oh, you know, it's funny, actually. I forgot to show... Because some people are doing their high poly, which I guess is due Monday, right? There is a video somewhere. It might just be part of a longer video, but yeah, turntables in ZBrush are amazing. Ooh, got a little tear through. Stupid brush. I gotta turn on the back base mask, which shouldn't be default in so many of these brushes, but oh well, whatever. Yeah, turntable, sure. I will be doing a turntable, yes, 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 yes. So yeah, I've got this thing laid out. Where is it here? This guy. And I gotta save the head as well. I gotta remember to do that because I'm gonna merge them together at some point. Yeah, like I said, it's almost 10 o'clock. I'm probably gonna call it a night super quickly here. Another 5 or 10 minutes maybe, and then I'll just show you guys, just for demo's sake, I guess, the turntable. So this will be book bobbit worm underscore head. So I've kind of got two parallel projects going with this thing. Although, you know, shit, I should just merge the two. Why don't I do that? That's kind of a smart thing to do. Bobbit, append, and then I gotta do the head as well. Append, come on, you jerk. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. So I'll hide, I guess, this thing while I'm working, and also that part as well. I'll move this down. Is that good? Yeah. Now move that down. Okay, so yeah, now I'll kind of focus on these bits here. Oops, wrong bit. There. Yay! That's smart. Okay, so I'll save that as version 2. Brush inserts. Where's the tube? Or brush curve tube. Curve tube. Let's go stroke, size, fall off. Size, and we'll make, I think I gotta reverse it if I'm not mistaken. Let me see here. Yeah, stroke. Okay, so I'm trying to think which way this thing is oriented. It's so weird. Jesus. Okay, that's sort of right. Down a little bit here. That's good. Okay. that. Alright, turntables and ZBrush. Yeah, how do we deal with this? So, the one weird thing with ZBrush is that, like, it kind of... vegetable, reminded you of your ex. Yeah. We've all been there, buddy. Yeah, what you want to do with turntables is basically, in this case I've got a lot of subtools. I mean, maybe I shouldn't do it on this project, so I'll just kind of show you another tool as an example. Or yeah, I'll take earthquake, maybe not earthquake either. So yeah, what I like to do, so when I ask for like, so for your high-res stuff, I mean, you can import the high-res to Maya, but it'll be super slow and it may not render properly. You can actually go to what's called skin shade material number 1. It's similar to an ambient occlusion, similar to an ambient occlusion, or you can go to, there's a few other materials that are kind of close-ish, like sketch, flat sketch, or one of these, let's see, this one here, matte cap white, sort of comparable. I mean, it's almost like a marble style render, which I don't mind either. I think for the high res, I'm not really asking for any wireframe. I don't know, I have to check the outline, but anyways, yeah, so you see that's a nice kind of look. One problem you might have is that, like, ZBrush kind of dims the look of other subtools, so if you have subtools, like multiple parts here, in this case there's like teeth and eyeballs and then just the head, and the head has subdivisions. When I do a high-res presentation, I will usually delete the low-res, and I'll check for the eyeballs as well. I may actually, yeah, they've got a division, so I'll divide them maybe one more time to smooth them out a little bit. Delete the low-res. And this I would do as a temporary, so I'd save the file right before this, temporarily delete this, and then I'd merge the subtools together. So that way I don't get the weird shading between the different subtools. So I'll go merge down, say okay. So now we get even shading on all parts. And for a turntable, I'll hit F to frame it. Usually I want this in perspective as well, so I'll hit perspective and then hit F again. Go to movie. We want to capture the document, not so window is weird, it captures everything, like all the buttons in ZBrush, all the interface parts, which we don't want. We want a large file and we want the document, so that's number 1. Number 2, under modifiers, it's going to record at 24 frames a second. I usually want it to play back at 24 frames a second. It records the cursor for some odd reason, so I hate that too, because if you're still moving your mouse as it's doing the turntable, it'll show you that. Again, another weird option that should just be off by default. And then spin frames I will set to 240, so 240 frames at 24 frames a second is 10 seconds. So I set that. 2 more options you have to go to, overlay image and title image. So ZBrush does a fade in and fade out of its logo, and it does some other overlap, opacity with the logo somewhere. I don't want their marketing all over my stuff, so I will turn it off. Not that I hate them, I want to see a full turntable, basically, that I can present for myself, for clients, or whoever, right? So that's basically it. Those are the settings. Document large, document instead of window, large instead of medium, modifiers, 24 frames a second, playback, 24 frames a second, recording, no cursor size, and 240 spin frames. And then disable image overlay by setting opacity to 0. Same thing with title image. No fade in, no fade out. Okay? And then we just simply hit turntable and it automatically goes through and turntables this mofo. So that's that. So that's done, and if we go to movie, you can play it, but right now, again, this is another weird thing in ZBrush, it's a ZBrush based movie, it's a ZMV. So if you just go save as, it saves a ZBrush playable only video file, which whatever is fine, I guess, but save as, so it's a ZMV. I don't want ZMVs, they're annoying to play. So just go movie, export, but make sure there's a little check mark here for high quality export. So you're gonna go export, just save it as an MPEG, and there it goes. It saves out the MPEG video file, okay? So now, if I go to my desktop, There's going to be the MPEG movie. It's about 12 megabytes, usually like 12 to 15 megabytes, depending on detail, I guess. But that's it. Beautiful, right? Seamless turntable. It's awesome. It's what you see in all the behind-the-scenes videos when you watch cool extras on Blu-rays and stuff, or whatever on iTunes and all that stuff. Anything you see on YouTube as well. If you catch behind the scenes, they always do like turntables from the viewports, usually of Zbrush or Mari or something like that. So, or Maya. That's it. Cool. There's my Donald Trump. Oh, I put my own little marketing logo in there. Yeah, I can't remember when I did that. That was a while ago. Donald Trump. Doo-doo hair Trump. One of many unfinished ideas. Okay, so any other requests before I go tonight, I guess? I hope that helps. Maybe I'll have to split the end of that video off on its own little video for Zbrush turntables, but I hope we had some fun. Maybe one day I'll finish the bobbit worm. Maybe. One day. Yeah. It's kind of fun though, but. Alright. Have a good night, everybody.
The meaning